There's been a managerial change, but for who? Chris Kamara, Jeff Stelling this morning on TalkSport dropped this bombshell regarding the Brighton job. And instead of calling Brendan Rodgers Brenda, we could call him Brittany, because could it be, oops, I did it again, and he's left Celtic, because Jeff Stelling has likened Brendan Rodgers to go back to the Prem and have a shot with Brighton, because he doesn't really rate a Graham Potter return. Welcome back to Fog Football. This would turn Scottish football upside down. This would turn Celtic upside down. And you know what? Despite Brendan Rodgers having a really good record against Rangers, despite Brendan Rodgers winning the Scottish Cup and the league, I want Rodgers to stay. I think Celtic are weaker with Brendan Rodgers at the helm. Boom, boom. That may sound controversial. It may not. But I actually want Rodgers to stay. Now, obviously, getting rid of a manager can unsettle a team, etc., etc. Certain players might want to leave. But I still think Celtic are weaker with Brendan Rodgers. Now, obviously, if you told me right now, well, this is who's going to come in, then I might be able to judge and compare. But here, this is just Jeff Stelling talking at the end of the day, right? There's nothing concrete in this. At the end of the day, we will look at the Brighton manager odds just to see if big Brendan Rodgers has been even included on the list. But we'll have to wait and see. But in terms of Brendan Rodgers, of course, let's look when he last left Celtic. It was 2019. It was over 5 years ago. Celtic were leading the Premiership by 8 points. Brendan departed them, and of course, he joined English Premier League club Leicester City. He had a pretty decent career at Leicester City. We all know how it went. You know, a few seasons of missing out in Champions League football, pretty unlucky. And then, of course, he won the FA Cup. But then he decided to leave, be sacked, whatever you want to call it. Boom, boom. Bob's your uncle. Then he returned to Celtic. And I don't want to go through, really, what Brendan Rodgers has done at Celtic. But in terms of the odds for the Brighton manager job, if you're a Celtic fan and you're bricking Brendan Rodgers to leave your football club, well, I'll let you in on the favourites, shall I? Because Graham Potter is 46. Kieran McKenna is 41. Russell Martin is 8-1. Brendan Rodgers is 66-1. You thought I was going to be like, oh, he's 10-1. But no, Brendan Rodgers is like, he's literally about 21st favourite. You know, the people with the same odds as Brendan Rodgers, for example, Adam Lallana, Gareth Southgate, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. That's just not going to happen. You know, I'm not saying Brendan Rodgers is a guarantee. Hell, it's not even going to happen. But if you look at the four guys that he's joint with on 66-1, he's got way more chance than Gareth Southgate, because Brighton are probably going to want to appoint their manager before windows open. Ollie, I mean, I think Ollie's unrealistic, because I don't even know what Ollie's doing, right? And then Adam Lallana, I don't know. I don't think Brighton would go for Adam Lallana. I think he just literally just retired, and I don't know what his coaching abilities are like. Brendan Rodgers, though, you know, he loves to portray Celtic. He loves to do all that good stuff. He says he wouldn't leave them. He says he would see his contract out. We'll have to wait and see how that's going to go. But 66-1, I would suggest that Brendan Rodgers at 66-1 for a job that Jeff Stelling's linked him to is worth more of a tenner than anybody else. I mean, Vincent Kompany's 50-1, and he's pretty much signed on the dotted line at Bayern Munich. So, again, I don't know why people even think that's even possible, that it's going to completely flip on its head. It's not going to flip on its head. But, you know, I think bookies get the odds wrong sometimes. I mean, who would you rather stick a tenner on? Kompany at 50-1 or Rodgers at 66-1? You know, but again, it's just Jeff Stelling saying this. Brighton obviously did not finish in the European football this season, but they're still a good team. I do think, though, right, the reason why Brighton have done so well is because of like the Serbe style, and Potter overachieved. I think if Brendan Rodgers went in, I'm not saying, you know, I'm not burying Brendan Rodgers here, but I don't think Brighton are going to be challenging to get into European spots with Rodgers. I just don't think they've got the money. They're a selling club. And it's all about your recruitment and who you bring in. I just don't see that. I think Brighton are a lot weaker than the Leicester team that Rodgers inherited. Because Rodgers had a really good Leicester team. The Brighton team right now, solid team, but they're a selling club, and they look to bring in talent for elsewhere, and De Serbi was very good at that, so was Potter. Would Rodgers be? I'm not too sure. But anyway, guys, leave your thoughts down below. Is Jeff Stelling right? Will Brendan Rodgers do a Brittany? Will he do it again? We'll have to wait and see.